The argument started 30,000 feet above the Atlantic, with a spilled cup of coffee and one sentence that changed everything. "You could at least apologize," the woman snapped, wiping dark stains from the sleeve of her cream-colored blazer. The man beside her looked up from his laptop, clearly exhausted, clearly irritated, and apparently not interested in pretending otherwise. "You walked into my arm," he replied calmly. "I was reaching for my cup." Emma Carter stared at him in disbelief. She had already endured delayed flights, a missed connection in Chicago, and a brutal email that morning informing her that the marketing firm she'd dedicated 6 years to was downsizing. Which was corporate language for, "You're replaceable." And now this arrogant stranger had ruined the only professional outfit she had packed for the biggest interview of her life. "Wow," she muttered. "Do they teach arrogance in business school now, or does it just come naturally to you?" The man slowly closed his laptop. For the first time, he actually looked at her. Sharp jawline. Dark blue sweater. Expensive watch. Intelligent gray eyes that looked permanently tired. He wasn't much older than her, maybe mid-30s, but something about him carried authority. And annoyance. "Listen," he said evenly, "I've had a very long week. I'm not trying to fight with you." "Well, congratulations," Emma shot back. "You're failing." A few passengers nearby glanced over. A flight attendant awkwardly approached with napkins. The man sighed and handed Emma his own clean handkerchief. "I said I wasn't trying to fight," he repeated. Emma took the handkerchief reluctantly. "Thanks," she muttered. But the tension between them remained thick enough to choke on for the next 3 hours. Unfortunately for Emma, fate wasn't done humiliating her yet. Because after landing in New York, after racing through traffic, after changing clothes in a cramped airport bathroom, after rehearsing her presentation 10 times in the taxi ride downtown, she walked into the conference room of Ashford Global Marketing. And saw him standing at the front of the table. The same man from the plane. The same man she had basically called arrogant. The same man now being introduced as, "Everyone, this is Daniel Ashford, CEO of Ashford Global." Emma's soul left her body. For one horrifying second, Daniel looked equally stunned. Then his face became unreadable. Emma considered pretending she was the wrong applicant. Or perhaps faking a medical emergency. Instead, she forced herself to extend a trembling hand. "Emma Carter," she said weakly. "Nice to officially meet you." Daniel shook her hand once. Likewise. No smile. No recognition in his voice. Which somehow felt worse. The interview was a disaster. Not because Emma lacked talent. She was brilliant at strategy, storytelling, and campaign building. Normally interviews energized her. But now every sentence felt poisoned by embarrassment. She stumbled through her presentation while trying not to remember calling the CEO arrogant at 30,000 feet. Meanwhile Daniel sat silently at the end of the table, expression impossible to read. When she finished, the room went quiet. One executive nodded politely. Another scribbled notes. Daniel simply asked, "Why do you want this job?" The question caught her off guard. She had prepared for metrics, analytics, market growth discussions. Not honesty. Emma hesitated. Then something inside her cracked. "Because I'm tired," she admitted softly. "I'm tired of companies treating people like disposable parts. I'm tired of fake branding pretending to care about customers while employees burn out behind the scenes. And honestly, I need a fresh start." The room fell silent again. Daniel watched her carefully. "For someone seeking a corporate position," he said, "you don't sound very corporate." Emma gave a humorless laugh. Maybe that's the point. For the first time since the plane incident, Daniel almost smiled. Almost. 3 days later, Emma got the call. She was hired. Her friends thought she should celebrate. Instead, she panicked. "You fought with the CEO before he hired you?" her best friend Mia asked over dinner. "Yes." "And he still hired you?" "Yes." Mia blinked. "Either he respects honesty, or he's plotting your destruction." Emma groaned. "Please don't say that." Her first weeks at Ashford Global were brutal. The company moved fast. Expectations were ruthless. Half the staff seemed terrified whenever Daniel walked through the halls. And Daniel himself remained frustratingly distant. Professional. Cold. Efficient. Never rude. But never warm either. Every interaction between them carried the ghost of that plain argument. "Your campaign draft needs sharper emotional targeting," he'd say during meetings. Or, "This concept is good. Not memorable." Or worse, "You're capable of stronger work than this." Emma couldn't decide whether he believed in her, or enjoyed pushing her to the edge. One night she stayed in the office until nearly midnight revising a presentation. Most employees had already left. As she rubbed her tired eyes, a voice behind her said, "You're still here." She turned to find Daniel standing near the doorway, sleeves rolled up, loosened tie, coffee in hand. "You're here too," she replied. He glanced at her screen. "You redid the entire campaign?" "The original wasn't good enough." "It was fine." Emma leaned back in frustration. "You say things like that, but then you look disappointed every time I speak." Daniel frowned slightly. "That's not true." "It feels true." For a moment neither spoke. The city lights outside reflected across the glass walls of the office. Finally Daniel said quietly, "Do you know why I hired you?" Emma crossed her arms. "Because you enjoy psychological warfare?" That actually made him laugh. A real laugh this time. Low and surprised. "I hired you," he said, "because everyone else in that interview room told me what I wanted to hear." He stepped closer. "You didn't." Emma looked at him carefully. "You barely smiled at me." "I was trying not to." "Why?" His expression shifted. "Because if I had smiled, everyone would have known I already liked you." The air changed instantly. Emma's heartbeat stumbled. She looked away first. That should have been the beginning of something beautiful. But real life rarely moves that easily. Over the next few months, Emma discovered the pressure Daniel lived under. Ashford Global wasn't simply struggling with competition, it was close to collapse. A major client was preparing to leave. Investors were losing confidence. And Daniel carried the entire company on his shoulders while pretending everything was under control. One evening Emma overheard two executives whispering outside a boardroom. "If this account falls through," one muttered, "Ashford could lose hundreds of employees." That night Emma finally understood the exhaustion she had seen in Daniel's eyes on the plane. He hadn't been arrogant. He'd been drowning. Slowly, their relationship changed. Late-night brainstorming sessions turned into shared dinners in the office. Arguments became conversations. Conversations became trust. Daniel started opening up about his father, who founded the company and died unexpectedly years earlier. Emma shared stories about supporting her younger brother after their mother's illness. They stopped pretending not to care. But there was one problem neither of them could ignore. Daniel was still her boss. And in a company full of rumors and power politics, even being seen together too often became dangerous. One afternoon Emma walked into the break room and heard two coworkers talking. "She got promoted fast." "Well, we all know why." Emma froze. The words hit harder than she expected. That evening she confronted Daniel in his office. "This can't happen." He looked up immediately. "What can't?" "Us." The word hung painfully between them. Daniel stood slowly. Did someone say something to you? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Emma shook her head. You built this company fighting to earn respect. I fought for mine too. I can't become the woman everyone thinks succeeded because the CEO liked her. Daniel's jaw tightened. You earned every position here. I know that. But gossip doesn't care about truth. For the first time since meeting him, she saw helplessness in Daniel's eyes. And that somehow hurt the most. Weeks passed. They became distant again. Professional. Careful. The silence between them grew unbearable. Then disaster struck. Ashford's biggest client officially withdrew. The company erupted into panic. Executives blamed each other. Employees feared layoffs. Investors demanded immediate solutions. Daniel barely slept. Emma watched him slowly collapsing under pressure, yet refusing help from anyone. Until one night she walked into the conference room and found him sitting alone in darkness. No laptop. No phone. Just silence. You can't save everyone by yourself, she said softly. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Then he admitted something she never expected. I'm scared. 3 simple words. Raw. Human. Emma sat beside him. My mother used to say something when life fell apart, she whispered. She said people don't need perfect leaders. They need honest ones. Daniel stared ahead quietly. What if honesty isn't enough? Emma looked at him. Then let people carry the weight with you. The next morning, Daniel did something shocking. Instead of hiding the company's crisis, he addressed the entire staff openly. No corporate lies. No fake optimism. He explained the financial danger honestly, and then invited ideas from every department. Employees who had felt invisible suddenly felt seen. Teams started collaborating instead of competing. And Emma led a bold campaign proposal that nobody else believed would work. Except Daniel. It's risky, one executive warned. It's human, Emma replied. Daniel approved it instantly. The campaign exploded online within days. Real stories. Real employees. Real customers. Not polished perfection. Authenticity. The public responded massively. New clients arrived. Investors regained confidence. Ashford Global survived. But the biggest moment came weeks later at the company's celebration party. Music played softly across the rooftop venue overlooking Manhattan. Employees laughed for the first time in months. Emma stood near the balcony when Daniel approached her. You were right, he said. That's a dangerous sentence coming from a CEO. He smiled. People didn't need perfection. Emma looked at the city lights below. They needed truth. Daniel stepped closer. You know, he said quietly, most people on that plane thought we hated each other. Emma laughed softly. To be fair, I nearly threw coffee at you. You absolutely did. She turned toward him fully. So what changed? Daniel's eyes held hers. I realized the woman arguing with me wasn't difficult. He paused. She was fearless. For a moment the noise of the city disappeared completely. Then Daniel added softly. And she became the best thing that ever happened to me. Emma felt tears sting unexpectedly behind her eyes. Not because life had become perfect. Not because every problem magically disappeared. But because someone had finally seen her completely, her strength, flaws, ambition, exhaustion, and stayed. She smiled through watery eyes. You know, she whispered, you're much less arrogant than I thought. Daniel laughed. And you're much kinder than your airplane introduction suggested. Under the glow of the Manhattan skyline, surrounded by the company they had fought to save together, Emma finally understood something important. Sometimes the worst first impression leads to the most meaningful connection. Sometimes the people who challenge us the hardest are the ones who change our lives. And sometimes fate waits until 30,000 feet in the air, just to introduce you to your future.